Do a formal introduction. So, hey everybody, and welcome back to SEA League Qualifier number 1. As always, I'm Basket bringing you guys this game, and this is going to be, again, part of our qualifiers between Mafia Gaming over on the Radiant side, and on the side of the Dire, it's Malay All-Stars, or MAS, I suppose. That's what I'm going to call them in this game. And that's about it as far as introductions go, so getting underway with the draft. This is still just our first play round for this double elimination, so that's with a loser bracket, best of 1 qualifier for the actual SEA League. So, I'm going to start us off with a Darkseer ban from MAS and Mafia with the Batrider. So we'll see what makes it through the pool. Again, I think that PL and Coddle need to start getting a little bit more prioritization from teams than they have been getting, and the TA ban out is actually going to be pushing something into the pool. Worth noting that the Dire side does actually have first pick for this game. And Mafia, what's it going to be? Typical choices could include the Magnus or the Nyx. Nyx is going to be banned out here, so Magnus does make it through into the pool, but the Coddle and the PL do both remain there as well, so MAS is going to be forced sort of into the Coddle pickup. Again, PL is not completely neutered by not having a Coddle, but just that partnership is absolutely ridiculous. So we'll see if Mafia are forced into picking up PL just to avoid MAS getting it with their next round of picks, but they're actually going to opt to pick up the Rubik and the Magnus, so covering their Magnus pickup with the Rubik, but that leaves PL open for MAS, and the metagame, frankly, at this point is revolving around Phantom Lancer just a little bit. So we'll see what the other next pickup is going to be. There is still the Shadow Demon in the pool as far as trying to deal with that Phantom Lancer. We have seen teams using the fight fire with fire strategy, I suppose, against the PL. Just get your own army of Shadow Demon created illusions up and then use them to go for pushes to take team fights. And Magnus, frankly, not a bad pickup against PL either, since it means that you can sort of turn any carry into a cleaving machine to try and deal with those illusions, at least early on. Late game, it obviously becomes fairly difficult. So Queen of Pain is going to be picked up here by MAS. We'll see where this Magnus is going to be laned by Mafia. Again, Magnus used to be quite a strong offlaner when his skewer range was 1200. But these days, with the reduced skewer range, back to where it used to be, he's a little bit weaker on the offlane, and we do typically see him taking up that mid-roll. But against the Queen of Pain, it is a matchup that can go either way, but I think you do have to give the edge to the Quap. And just getting some info on the teams from stream chat, so if anyone's interested, go and check that out. And apparently, MAS, the favorites for this game over Mafia. We'll see how this all works out. Again, onus is sort of on Mafia to maybe try and make something happen, especially against the Coddle PL. Try and put some pressure on early game, but the Coddle is just so difficult to offensively trial in against. So it definitely makes life difficult in that regard. Mafia, I want to mention the puck now already, in terms of trying to deal with that Queen of Pain on mid, though that might force the Magnus onto the offlane. And Luna is actually going to be the pickup here by Mafia. So they do grab a carry who's okay at dealing with PL. Obviously, you've got the Bouncing Glaives, which provides you with some AoE physical damage, but they're not really all that strong in taking out those illusions, even once PL sort of has just a Manta style up. And with the Heart, the Glaives just are not close to enough to clean up those illusions quickly. So right now, Mafia is still looking for a mid. Perhaps it could be the Magnus. Again, it is a matchup that he can potentially win against the Queen of Pain with a few ganks from the supports, and Rubik is not a terrible support to be ganking the Queen of Pain either. Nice long duration stun in the lift. So Invoker's going to be banned out. In terms of the Dire side, MAS, they're probably looking for a support. Would be nice to see them pick up some stun with their support as well. Because, obviously, since Keeper of the Light, Phantom Lancer, and Quap have no stuns of their own. I guess you can count the Mana Leak as a stun. The Blinding Light doesn't actually interrupt anything when you use it, so that's a little bit weird, but that's the interaction there. So Mafia going to choose to ban out the Sand King, a stunning support that we did see in the last game that I just cast. The Brewmaster going to be removed from the pool as well. A hero that's actually quite good against PL, not so much as a direct counter, but just his general playstyle. If you fall behind against a PL, then that really does spell trouble. It's similar to how Bounty Hunter used to be and his sort of popularity. But if you can put the pressure on early, if you can shut down his farm from the start of the game, start to get that economic advantage up to the point where you can start buying anti-invis a little bit more liberally, then you can be in a good position. And Mafia, they've got a pretty good early to mid-game lineup as far as it goes right now, though. MAS don't really have anyone that they need to be waiting around for. They haven't necessarily picked up their offlaner just yet. We've had a ban on the Lone Druid here from Mafia. I'm not sure if it would have actually been all that bad leaving him in the pool if MAS had opted to pick him up. Well, if the Lone Druid and the PL were both doing well, then that would have pretty much been GG. But if they could put the pressure on the other lanes, the PL and the Quap, then it takes Lone Druid a long time to sort of farm his way back into the game, and that creates space for sort of a 4v5 scenario, at least for the first few, well, at least for a little while. And apparently, oh, I forgot to do my okay, so I'm an unofficial caster for this game, so I'm just spectating by the ticket, which I bought. The official cast for the tournament is the Beyond the Summit stream, where Gods is covering the other game tonight, which is currently G7 against... that's G7 against Lead Dreams. Someone's gonna have to clarify the name there for me, but that's Gods. He's over on that stream. He gave me a little bit of a shout out, so a huge thanks to him. And if you want to go and check out that game, then you can do it there. There's also a ticket for the client, obviously, so if you want to check anyone out through the client, you can do that as well. And Bounty Hunter are actually going to be picked up here by MAS. So a hero that, similar to the Lone Druid, who, if he falls behind, that can spell trouble. And there is now sort of an opening for Mafia. If Bounty Hunter obviously gets off to a good start, then I feel like the Radiant side are just going to be completely overwhelmed. But they've got the potential to shut down, well, at least the Bounty Hunter, perhaps the Queen of Pain as well, and then maybe go hunting for the Phantom Lancer. It would be nice to see them maybe pick up a touch more team fight, just to try and push around, but they do have the Eclipse and the Reverse Polarity working in their favor right now. In terms of their second support, we could still see the Shadow Demon, but that would leave them perhaps a little bit defensive with the Rubik in terms of support, in terms of finding ganks. So it would be nice to see maybe a Lina or a Leshrac, something like that, that can put the pressure on early enough. And what's it going to be? They're also still sort of looking for a mid or an offlaner right now. If they're going to be picking up an offlaner, well, they could pick up the winner regardless for mid or for the offlane. Wouldn't be a bad choice. And Shadow Demon is actually going to be the pickup here by Mafia. So it leaves them, again, a bit defensive in terms of support. Their last pickup has to provide at least a little bit of damage, since Rubik and Shadow Demon, while they have great stuns, they have great setup, they don't really provide all that much damage of their own, unless you go for an extremely Shadow Poison heavy build on the Shadow Demon. So hopefully we'll see something like a Winner as the last pickup. Could be something like the Beastmaster as well. Tidehunter is actually being taken here by MAS. So trying to get a little bit more team fight up their sleeve, a little bit more early game as well. And somewhat nice and item independent, gives them some more stun, but that is only the Ravage. They did manage to grab something to cancel TPs in the Shuriken Toss. So we're not going to just see sneaky TPs away from Mafia Gaming at every single turn. And again, still waiting for this last pickup. It's actually going to be an OD, so this is a bit of a gambit, and it's something that we have seen played against Phantom Lancers previously. I know that I've seen Wild Honey Badgers trying to run it. They've got some good AoE damage. The Sanity's Eclipse, at least for a while, does clear out the illusions, and then obviously the bonus damage from the orb cleans out illusions ridiculously quickly, at least until PL gets sort of into the late game, where he's tanky enough that with sort of a Manta build, even with a Drum or a Diffusal, he gets enough int that the Sanity's Eclipse doesn't actually necessarily instantly kill the illusions. But anyway, getting into the game, over on the side of MAS, and hoping that I don't butcher anyone's names this time around, we're going to have Castiel playing the Keeper of the Light. ADTR is going to be on the Phantom Lawyer. SYZ is going to be on the Queen of Pain. Sakura is going to be on the Bounty Hunter, and that leaves LOD or LOD to play the Tidehunter. Over on the side of Mafia, we're going to have Slayer Boxer playing the Shadow Demon, Cocaine Drug Boss playing the Obsidian Outworld Devourer now. We're going to have Nivik, whatever. We'll call him Niv, playing the Rubik. Nono, Estig, Nanostate. Someone's going to have to help me out with the pronunciation on these names. We'll call him No, playing the Luna, and ESES is going to be playing the Magnus. So yeah, sorry about the pronunciation on that, guys. If anyone who is actually playing in this game watches the VOD, make sure to tell me at a later time how to pronounce your names. Okay, so let's have a quick check-in on starting items. Now let's talk a little bit more about this Outworld Devourer now. Looks like he's probably going to be heading towards mid. Actually, not 100% sure how these lines are going to be working out. We've got an aggressive smoke already picked up by the Rubik, and no sentry wards just yet. Actually, there are some on the courier, so it might still just be a defensive tri lane, though. Mafia looking for this level 1 teamfight. Looks like we're going to have some action, and both teams more or less going to clash right up around here. We've got Bounty Hunter scouting out just a little bit. Not sure necessarily who the level 1 fight favors, but Mafia going forward aggressively. They need to get this disruption off. The nice Lucent Beam stun setting up for that disruption. The Illuminate flies through, connect on everyone, and now the lift up onto ADTR. He's dropping low, but it might actually be the Rubik dropping first. First blood just barely drawn there, and now still fighting. LOD dropping low, making it back around the corner. Slayer Boxer gonna drop to the Illuminates. That's 2-1 the exchange so far. Blink already picked up by the Queen of Pain, looking for another one. 1-3 the exchange as the Luna drops, and that Illuminate connecting on pretty much 5 heroes both times, just doing such a ridiculous amount of damage. So a nice little team fight for MAS, but they did actually lose the first blood. A sneaky right click from the Rubik actually picked that one up before he dropped. So that was a question of seconds there. The Zerman Urn is just a regen, so OD back and topped off. Though I do believe he had a salve earlier on. He might have popped that in the team fight, or actually he was heading down towards mid, so the regen perhaps a little bit wasted there. And we've actually got Bounty Hunter hanging out on mid right now, but it looks like he's just heading down towards the off lane, and it's going to be OD against Queen of Pain. Actually an okay matchup for the OD. He does need to get a little bit lucky in terms of those Essence Aura procs, just for stealing all the damage with the, obviously with the Astral Imprisonment. And we do have a pause right now since Magnus is disconnected, but it can go either way. Quap has the magical burst damage to kind of bring down OD, but OD should be fairly dominant in terms of last hits, and also just in terms of getting those denies, shutting down the Quap's farm a little bit there. So a nice pickup. We don't have an offensive tri lane running right now. It's going to be a solo offlane. Sorry about that. Solo offlane Magnetor. So we'll see how that works out. He needs to play extremely cautiously since he picked up Shockwave with his first point, since they were going for that fight. So probably just going to have to try and soak up XP for a little while. We've got a lane ward that is very unlikely to be dewarded from MAS, and probably just going to be a second rune ward placed now by Lod. So that skirmish means that we don't really have wards up right at the very start of the game, so they'll persist a little bit longer past the 6-minute mark, definitely. And also, Mafia, they need to go and get their wards up as well, so the next few minutes we shouldn't really see all that much. Probably just pulls starting to run and things like that, and ESES has now reconnected, so we'll be getting underway with the game fairly soon. Again, we do have some sentries picked up on the Rubik, but some of those are going to have to be invested in just trying to keep tabs on the Bounty Hunter. He doesn't actually have any obs, and he hasn't actually been pulled a poor man's shield either, though he is fighting up against the Radiant safe lane, which is actually pretty good for him. Can look to duck into the jungle, and then try and interrupt the pulls just a little bit, and a little bit of an eclectic combination of items for him right now. But looking pretty sweet on the Bounty Hunter. We've actually got the supports moving around on mid, looking for the aggression on the Queen of Pain, but the first point was already picked up in the Blink. They've got a ward down, but the Blink is immediately available to lift up into the air, now dropping low, but FYZ able to escape, drops down, but he does still have a salve in his arsenal, so the gank connects, but it only really uses 100 of FYZ's gold there. And are the supports actually going to hang out for very long on mid? They need to get down towards bot. Sakura has actually managed to intercept the creep wave and now dragging it back and around, so this is definitely going to be level 2 and perhaps level 3, just given how much XP he did get from those kills up in the dire jungle. So a pretty good start for this Bounty Hunter on the off lane, and support just a little bit too late to try and stop him getting those levels up. So a pretty good start for both teams. We're going to have to keep a close eye on this middle lane. The Quap actually a little bit ahead, just a very small fraction of the OD right now. And wards both used on mid by Mafia, in fact, so keeping an eye on any teleportation support coming in. Again, the one downside of the OD is that he is fairly susceptible to ganks, and FYZ actually asserting his dominance a little bit on mid right now, just using that sting. Does actually have almost a half a level, up on the OD right now, so leveraging that advantage quite well. And ESES now in trouble, has already used the skewer to try and get away. The Luminate's going to clip him. Is there going to be enough damage here? Popping off the salve. Looks like that's going to be his escape. So nice little play there. But again, offlane Magnus not as strong as it used to be, and with the pulls running, he is going to be at least a little bit XP starved. Well, Bounty Hunter is already up to level 3, and I just need to have a drink of water. Got something caught in my throat. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Really not sure what's going on there. Now, hopefully it won't continue. Our 2-minute run is the double damage picked up by Cocaine Drug Boss, so now heading back towards mid, and FYZ actually going forward super aggressively, but just look at those right clicks doing so much damage. One more is all he needs to find that kill, and FYZ, bit of a misplay there, just wanted the harassment, trying to see if maybe Cocaine would, you know, chicken out and then maybe die that way, but actually just manning up. He did always have the option to just imprison the Quap and then salve himself before actually going for any right clicks and drawing creep aggro. So a little bit of a misplay there by the Quap, going for that one. And that does sort of get OD in a great position on mid. FYZ comes forward aggressively, but immediately hit by the imprisonment, and OD going to be fine to just back himself out. Again, it's not really a lane that he needs to get kills on the Quap on, just by virtue of the matchup. Then he is going to be more or less out farming her and keeping her locked down fairly well. Sakura finding some great levels on, underneath the tower on bot, and the support's actually, one support actually dedicated just to trying harass him right now. The sentry ward's not used just yet, and looks like Rubik is just looking for a pull right now. So in terms of lanes, both safe lanes going quite well. The off lane for MAS probably working out just that little bit better than what's working out for the Magnus. And mid, the matchup does sort of favor the OD a little bit, but again, there is always the Phantom Lancer just farming away up on top. So again, the clock is sort of ticking. It's the nature of the matchup against PL that it's really up to Mafia to try and make things happen in the mid game, and they need to be finding kills for ESES. The recovery mechanism for an offlane Magnus is just straight out finding kills using the reverse polarity every single time he can, and he's already having trouble up on top. Looks like it might just be a bottle as the pickup for him, since OD doesn't really need to grab one, so he can be bottle crowing up on top, just a few gold away from picking that one up. And Slayer Boxer doing a pretty good job of keeping the Bounty Hunter out of this bottom lane, even without any center wards being invested just yet. So not sure where Sakura's going, just back to block the creep wave. And still pretty passive play from both teams right now. Quap actually doing a pretty good job of keeping the pace with the OD on mid, though as that Astral Imprisonment gets more and more levels, that should become a problem. Really needs to be using this on cooldown. In fact, just to get that huge damage advantage up against the Quap. There is a regen up on the side of up on FYZ right now, so able to use the Scream a little bit more to pick up some last hits. And we've now got Sakura hiding down in the trees right now. Not sure how he made it all the way down here, but just staying in XP range, and well played by him. We still haven't seen either of those sentries used just yet. And Mafia, are they considering a gank on mid right now? Moving across that way, the Soundings Eclipse has now been picked up on the OD, but doesn't actually have any stacks of the Astral Imprisonment up right now. So we'll see how much damage it actually does to the Queen of Pain. It's still going to be a little bit. We've got Mafia coming in from the obvious angle down in the river, but FYZ immediately spotting them out. The Shadow Poison thrown, but Skank is definitely not going to be connecting. Looks like SD just wants to put some pressure on, and Rubik's not done either. They get the Imprisonment. The Disruption is going to be there as follow-up, but the blink away from SYZ is available. The tower now going to work, and blinking across, going to actually be able to find a kill on Slayer. Now completely out of mana, however, but doesn't really matter. Had just barely enough with those Intelligence Steel stacks up to get the Sonic Wave. So nicely played by him, and a little bit of weird decision making there from Mafia. They came straight up the river, I mean, they could have even waited just for the cover of night to find some better initiation range. And not even going for a smoke either, though there aren't any wards up for MAS. We've got Bounty Hunter coming in towards mid, but Rubik is actually going to be in big trouble. The Sandy's Eclipse immediately kills off the Bounty Hunter. Now FYZ, the target, just right-clicking him down. Blink going to be on cooldown for a little bit, but Cocaine actually hits one of the creeps there, as opposed to the hero. So FYZ still surviving for now, but in trouble. Not sure what he's going for right now. He doesn't have any bottle charges. There's not really the potential for him to find a kill. I guess just wanting to show that he could blink out of the way and dodge that hit. So that's a bit weird. Do I know Finks? I do not know Finks. So sorry, Kryptonite. Oh, it's Kryptonite. I mean, but with less vowels. So sorry about that in chat. I don't know who you're referring to. So down on bot, Bounty Hunter returns. He did die on mid, so that's a little bit unfortunate for him. But he has participated. Well, he has a kill and an assist to his name, though I think a lot of that was just the team fight that we had up on top. And XP a little bit in favor of the Radiant side right now. A similar story for the gold as well. And some of that, just the matchup on mid, Klopp down at level 6, while OD is up at level 8 with 13 denies to his name and pulling ahead fairly well on this middle lane. And while PL does lead the farm, mid and bot are both working out fantastically for Mafia right now. Though, again, PL is a ticking time bomb as far as this game is concerned. The OD and Luna will be able to mitigate him while sort of heading towards the late game. And we do now have those sentry wards already used. But Bounty is going to be heading down and just trying to camp out the 8-minute rune. Klopp heads up towards top right this second and placing down another ward as well. Illusion's actually picked up there by Bounty. He's not quite level 6 either. Looks like they might be looking for some aggression on the OD on mid. They actually come in, but there's still a Radiant sentry ward down, spotting out the movement from the Bounty Hunter. So OD is just going to wisely back himself off. And the Illusions actually really like this, are heading down to maybe try and intercept the wave, get Sakura that level 6 by pulling it around to the tower. Though the wave did just clash underneath the tower, so he sacrificed the opportunity to try and get some more XP up by trying to go for that gank on mid. So a little bit more wasted time for him. We've got heroes back behind the tier 1 tower, up on top, looking for this one. Though we did have a little bit of TP support come in. ESES dropping low. He's going to have to skewer in just a second. Stick charges keep him alive for now. And there's the lift, the skewer across the cliff. He is going to be fine. Nicely played by the Rubik. And a well-timed TP. In comes OD. There's the imprisonment. Trying to do as much damage as he possibly can to Laud. But FYZ actually going to be picking up that kill. And Rubik now in trouble, being chased down. Not enough mana for a blink, but one more right click. Going to do it here. Actually just barely makes it out of the way. So the intelligence steal coming into play there. Otherwise the Quap would have had enough. Check my match history because I played some games with him and he smashed me. That's not surprising. I don't claim to be great at this game. And hello Brackswift, how are you doing in chat? So anyway, how are things playing out right now? MAS do now have a 2-kill lead, but again, some of that is the 3 kills that they picked up in the initial skirmish on top, so it's slightly more even than perhaps it seems. And Bounty Hunter trying desperately to get level 6. The Sanity's Eclipse was there for OD, so maybe just not sure if you could pick up that kill on the Bounty Hunter. And yep, PL just still farming himself away, heading towards that Diffusal Blade at the moment. So nothing too surprising there. The tier 1 tower still quite healthy on mid as well. We haven't seen a first blood in terms of towers just yet either. Luna is heading just straight towards a BKB right now, so a fairly early game build for her. And they're going to be looking to use the Eclipse and the Reverse Polarity to try and man down a few towers, at least force a response out from the Keeper of the Light. And again, the clock is sort of ticking. While Mafia do have ways to deal with the PL as we head towards the late game, it is going to get drastically more difficult once we start getting up towards that 30, sort of 40-minute mark. And I guess the other downside for the OD, yes, he's got good damage against the Illusions, but he can only really hit one at a time, aside from using the Sanity's Eclipse to clear. And once it gets to the point where the Sanity's Eclipse isn't enough to instantly kill all of the Illusions, that really spells trouble. So, yeah. Shadow Demon comes in on mid, FYZ the target for this gank, but they don't really have all that much Chainstone, and the Shadow Poison from the high ground actually going to be revealing his presence, trying to see if anyone else is coming in. They've now got the level 6 up on the Bounty Hunter, so the track flying out on OD. But that's going to be about it for the middle lane right now. And Mafia trying to find ganks with the supports, but just by virtue of getting the Rubik plus the Shadow Demon, they're okay at ganking, but against someone like a Queen of Pain on mid, it would have been nice to have another True Stun instead of the SD, though I guess they're relying on the fact that they're going to be able to make use of the PL as well in the late game. So that's sort of plan B for them, unless they can just sort of clinch this out early. The PL is starting to look pretty scary and almost going to have his defusal up. We've now got a smoke gank from MAS moving down and around towards the middle lane, throwing down a sentry ward at the same time. The gank going to be going out on OD, and he's actually heading up onto the high ground right now. This spells trouble. They're still waiting quite patiently, and it actually gives OD enough time to retreat back to the safety of his tower, but they're still just waiting. The Ravage is available to be used as well. Support's just back for Mafia right now, so there's the potential for defensive disruption at any time, and SD actually going to reveal his presence right as FYZ comes forward. They're going to throw out the Soul Catcher, but it doesn't actually connect. The Ravage pops, connects on almost everyone. Can we get a steal off here? It's only level 4 on the Rubik, 2 already dead, and MAS with the Sonic Wave in over the top find those 2 kills quite handily. Shadow Demon came forward extremely aggressively to try and deal with the Queen of Pain's aggression, which really let Tide come in, get the Ravage off, and that was pretty much all she wrote on mid. So MAS extend their lead out to 4. We haven't really seen all that much from the Magnus just yet, but he really does need to pick up some Arcane Boots before he can be all that effective around the map. And again, his recovery mechanism is kills. They need to start trying to involve him in some smaller scale engagements. And again, Mafia have 3 big ultimates to try and leverage to push down towers. So yeah. How high level is this game in my opinion? I mean, draft works out fairly well. I think both teams have maneuvered pretty well around the map. Warding is good, and I don't know what sort of scale to base it on, but what I would expect for the SEA League qualifiers. And it seems pretty quality. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I hope you guys are too. So, learn another target for a gank down on bot. FYZ comes in. They don't actually have a Sonic Wave available. Now the TP support coming out as well, so maybe a little bit of wasted time here for MAS. Not going to connect, and a nice TP in from the Magnus, putting an end to that aggression. Mafia, now with that TP invested, might finally try and grab this tier 1 on bot, but the threat of the Keeper of the Light teleporting in or even just walking down at absolutely any time should be enough to hold this off. And at the same time, ADTR is going for a solo tower up on top. So, woohoo, tower drops. Just because I won doesn't necessarily mean I did well against whoever people are talking about in chat. Somebody's brought up somebody who recognizes me from matchmaking, so that's what the argument is in chat right now. So let's have a quick check-in on the warding, since not a whole lot is happening. Keeper of Light's just going to be defensively turtling down on bot forever, and Mafia going to be trying to find some kills. We've got a lane ward down right now for Mafia, which is nicely played since they were leaving the Luna alone, just to farm while the supports are trying to gank mid, though more or less unsuccessfully. Sakura is now heading towards mid, and Quap finds an invis as well up towards the top lane, though this was spotted out by the Observer Ward from the Radiant side, so Good Kane is just going to back himself off and just farm up the neutrals a little bit. So a nice response from him. No easy ganks going the way of Malaysian All-Stars right now, or Malay All-Stars. He's now got a smoke gank going off from Mafia. Again, probably just looking to head towards mid, and the Bounty Hunter not actually going to be spotting that one out. Looks like he might just go for a stack on these Ancients since he was in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, nobody is anywhere near mid right now. FYZ was actually heading down towards bottom lane, so the 2 supports still just hanging out. Sentry Ward up on the high ground as well, and sort of just using the OD as bait a little bit. The 4-staff forward, there's an Astral Imprisonment as well, but they need to chain stun. Well, they need to chain stun the Quap, but in the end doesn't really matter. Sakura dropping low, but still man fighting for now. One more right click does do it, and there's the reverse polarity thrown out on FYZ. ESES contributing a lot here. OD unfortunately does drop to the Sonic Wave. Now the Purge out on ESES, and Ravage just gonna pop for him to make sure that they find that kill. The nuke through, almost killing off FYZ, but does just barely survive with Strength Treads up. A little bit disastrous there for Mafia, everybody TPing in towards mid. Well, everyone TPing in towards mid from MAS, and they find 3 kills in exchange for 1, with the original target, I suspect, the Queen of Pain, actually just getting away on a sliver. Circo's going to head down towards bot, where Luna has been able to put on a little bit of pressure, getting fairly close to that BKB, that the tower gold would be a big help, and looks like MAS might be able to grab a tower of their own on this middle lane right now, harassing down the Shadow Demon fairly well. ADTR going to be eating some damage from those illusions, and here is an Astral Imprisonment. The Courier trying to deliver something there. The lift back up into the air. He's now in trouble. Doppelwalk on cooldown. The nuke through. The mech does pop. There's the Purge. This is going to be one dead Phantom Lancer, and Coddle knows it, making his escape off to the side. So, a pretty nice pick-off there from Mafia. They've got, well, between the Astral Imprisonment and the Disruption, they've got the potential to keep people in place for a very, very long time for support to get into position, so that's a nice sort of nuance of their lineup right now. Though it's 60 minutes in and we haven't seen a tower claimed from them just yet, so while the team fight is sort of keeping them in the game, they are falling behind in terms of kills. 5 the split, XP now in favor of the dire side, and a similar story for the gold, though was boosted up a little bit by the Phantom Lancer dying. So tier 1 on bot still fairly low. Slayer is going to head down that way as well to try and soak up a little bit of XP. Sakura is heading down, and the warding a minor lapse for the Radiant side right now. Having a quick check in on their vision. They're playing a little bit blind. And again, it's sort of up to them in this game to be on the front foot, trying to go for the aggression. Well, Sentry Ward's actually down all over the map for the dire side, getting rid of the majority of those wards. So again, Mafia playing pretty blind right now, and it's not a position that they want to be in. They've got ultimates cooling down. We haven't seen the Eclipse come into play just yet, and that is a rank 2 Eclipse. So they really need to be making use of this team fight, though the Ravage cooldown lining up similarly to a lot of their team fight, and enough to swing the fights back in favor of MAS, even in a 4v5 situation, since the Luna hasn't really been contributing all that much. Mafia going for a gank down on bot. Sakura trying to make his escape. Can they get this disruption out? Just off to the side, looking for disruption, but looks like Bounty Hunter just barely made it out of range of that Sentry Ward. And Keeper of the Light now joins the fray immediately. Going to be throwing out that rank 3 Illuminate to quickly put an end to this push. The Mafia might just man up on the tower, perhaps. No, we'll push pretty much over, and it might be a deny as well, as the tower does not drop into deny range for MAS. We're going to have a recall in as well. Tracks go out, and just the man up on the tower, maybe to get the deny. The recall didn't actually go out, it was just the Keeper of the Light ultimate pop there. At the same time, ADTR is taking advantage of this opportunity just to try and claim the tier 2 up on top, so completely undeterred as far as the game goes right now. I guess he doesn't necessarily need to have the Bassi and the Tranquil Boots. That's a really minor point. I suppose he could just have the Sobi and then switch between the Tranquils and the Bassi, depending on whether he's just trying to farm the lane or trying to push, but just opting for both, and frankly he's got enough gold to do it. Speaking of gold, I should switch over to net worth since we've seen some towers fall, and the BKB now popped off for the Luna, but just to avoid that Illuminate, everybody actually off to the side right now for MAS, FYZ, and Sakura waiting in the wings to try and go for this fight, and the BKB's already been used, but the Eclipse and the Reverse Polarity are both available as well, along with the rank 2 Sanity's Eclipse now. But PL is just taking the advantage of all of this time to wail down tower after tower, and looks like Mafia don't want to break up before grabbing the tier 1, but it's already been denied. Coddle just buying them enough time, keeping them distracted, and such a pest of a hero in that regard. The tier 1 on mid will already drop. ES comes in, but it's maybe just a little bit too late, and now taking a lot of damage just from that one illusion. We've got heroes off to the side as well right now. So they've got wards back up from Mafia, but they're extremely defensive right now, not wanting to be dewarded. They don't have tabs on the Shadow Demon at all. Is actually going to immediately get a pick off on the Shadow Demon. Well, on the Bounty Hunter, gets a kill on the Shadow Demon. Now lifted up into the air, but there's the Invis. Was actually hit by the stolen track. So nice little play there by the Rubik, but at the same time, a kill was found on mid. The Magnus drops right underneath his tier 2 tower. Lod comes in, throws out the Ravage. Not actually enough mana for the steal there on Rubik, so getting the bonus move speed up from the track. But OD dies at the same time, and now a double kill for FYZ. So extending the lead out to about 7 kills. Again, it's not looking great for the Radiant side right now, and a gem picked up on the Keeper of the Light just to make sure that Mafia are continuously in the dark. And it's also a problem in terms of ganking the PL, because If Cuddle is nearby, then they've got a gem to spot out sentries and just right-click them down, and Dust is going to be ineffective since he can just purge it off using the Diffusal. So unless they can find enough farm to pick up a gem of their own, that Doppelwalk is going to be a fairly reliable escape mechanism. And ADTR is sort of starting to reach critical mass right now. It's got a Vitality booster picked up and almost enough for the Messerschmitt's Reaver as well, if he would like, though we might see him head towards a Manta as that next pickup beforehand. There is the potential for a track steal on the Rubik, I suppose, and Manta would help out in that regard. We're going to have a very quick pause, so I'll take an opportunity to look at the graphs, though it does sort of reinforce what I've been saying, that MAS are in a pretty good position right now. 4k the XP lead and 5k the gold, and looks like we're just having some ping fluctuations, so we're just going to have a quick pause. We've already got Tidehunter with a hood finished up, so probably heading towards that pipe. A nice rush set up for him. They've already got the mech finished up on the Coddle as well. So even with a defensive teamfight from Mafia, MAS are getting themselves in a good position to try and break through. Again, there is a plan B here for Mafia. It's take it to the late game, get a Refresher Orb up on the Magnus, get some farm up on the Luna, and then try and use the disruption on the PL to try and get their own army of illusions online, but not sure that's going to be working out. We've got an imprisonment on bottom lane. Lod may be in some trouble, but support is now coming in, and the Eliminate being channeled through as well. Turns around for the Gush. Support maybe just a little bit too far away to find that kill. And actually, oh God, sorry about this, guys. A whole bunch of TPs came down towards bot as well for Mafia, so frankly, a badly executed gank from them there. And Sakura just taking advantage of the fact that Mafia have no real map control right now to roam around the Radiant jungle, find some farm. There's a haste rune just spawned up, so that's a 14-minute rune. I've got potentially a haste double damage Quap. No, the haste is actually going to be given to Sakura there. Now a smoke from Mafia, going to be walking straight into the Bounty Hunter, who reveals them all off. They pop down a sentry ward, but they can't actually find him. He's got that lucky haste up his sleeve, so revealing the smoke, all of that for naught. And Luna trying to do what he can on mid, but Phantom Lancer already wailing him down. They've got an imprisonment, it's only on an illusion. And Rubik actually still has his hands on that stolen track, so throwing that out, but probably only has one more left up his sleeve. And Bounty Hunter actually looking to come in from the rear of this fight. At the same time, well played by MAS. They're not always committing 5 heroes like Mafia are. They're keeping the split pressure on, even just with the Tidehunter right now, who can TP in towards mid at absolutely any time. Luna still trying to hold on to that BKB, but dropping fairly low, and there isn't an urn or anything like that. Even a mech to top him off. Shadow Demon does almost have an urn finished up, but it's still a little ways away. Yeah, still needs to finish farming up the Sobi Mask. So things are looking pretty dire right now for Mafia. And again, a lot of the problem is that they just didn't really find a dominant lead early on. They didn't have the supports. They didn't have supports that could really gank the Quap on the mid. They didn't actually keep the Bounty Hunter all that shut down. Most of his problems were actually heading towards mid and then dying there, or just not really finding all that much farm. But now with the track, he has pretty much completely caught up and is well ahead of the Magnus right now, who was again on the off lane. So things are looking pretty bad. See what I did there? We've got an imprisonment out on one of the illusions, but that's about it. OD is now heading towards a BKB, so that is going to help. I'll help the cause in terms of dealing with the Ravage, in terms of dealing with the Sonic Wave, and in terms of dealing with the PL a little bit, but he perhaps has his heart finished now. That's actually flying out right this second, and a completed BKB for the Queen of Pain there. So her net worth is about to take a massive spike along with the Coddles. Luna is not as far ahead as she seems. And yeah, just keep an eye on the courier. As soon as that drops off, the net worth will spike. For anyone who didn't know, for some reason items on the courier aren't counted towards your net worth. It's a little bit odd, but there you go. We've got 2 heroes heading down towards bot, trying to find a gank on the Luna, who now pops off the BKB. Still holding on to the Eclipse for now. The Skewer back with the reverse polarity. Might be able to find the gank on the Bounty Hunter. Now the lift back, and Sakura will die. Lod trying to TP out, and actually does manage to do... No, actually doesn't. Didn't manage to do so. There was an Imprison to hold him off there. Doesn't Desperation pop the Ravage or anything like that. So a nice 2 kills picked up there for Mafia. And both of those going the way of the Magnus as well, who was just able to pick up his Blink Daggers. So nice there, but at the same time, ADTR is just putting split pressure on top and already taking some health off that tier 3. And this is sort of the story of the game. I mean, Mafia can't afford to group up and try and find kills, and not sure where FYZ is. It's actually down on bot and managed to kill off Luna. Sonic Wave was used, but saw that the BKB was popped earlier on in that gank, so was fairly easily able to grab that kill. So again, Mafia on the back foot. Right now, it's sort of hope that they can get their own army of Phantom Lancers up and then try and make use of them. But again, it's looking fairly desperate for them at the moment. MAS with a 4-man group up and push down on bot, and is Tide being dragged in? Not just yet. That may actually be on cooldown. No, it's not. There's the recall, so Tide going to be brought down. They do still have the Ravage up their sleeves to try and use, though Mafia do have all of their ultimates almost up. The reverse polarity only a few seconds away at this point in time. So, MAS group up and push. Mafia trying to do a little split pushing of their own, and just Magnus farming up on top, but Mafia really not in a position, even with all of their ultimates, to try and take a fight at this point. They're going to try and get an army up, though they need those creeps to try and get these splits. And yeah, unfortunately those PL Illusions don't find themselves any splits there. They're going to get a skewer back on the Phantom Lancer, though he is fairly tanky now. Hides in the double walk. FYZ comes forward aggressively with the BKB, and Slayer actually going to drop. Lord walk straight through, pops at the Ravage just as he gets imprisoned. OD drops low, purged up as well. And No trying to go to work. We've got the stolen Ravage from the Rubik, turned around there. A little bit of bad play from the Tide Hunter. Well played by the Rubik. It's 2 for 1 the trade so far. FYZ now out of that BKB, but No going to drop ADTR, finding that right click. And even with being initiated on, now back up to half HP. Just the heart and the regen making him so tanky. And we're going to have a very quick pause. So taking stock of that fight, went sort of better for Mafia than it had any right to with the Ravage steal from the Rubik. That might have been sort of due to the fact that the Ravage popped and then Tide immediately got imprisoned, so Rubik knew that he could just wait and hover the spell steal until Tide popped out. But yeah, that was about it. Nice steal from Rubik, but even with that, it was a fairly even team fight, and assuming 1 or 2 track kills went out as well, a little bit uneven there. It was effectively the offlane and the support for MAS with the primary farmer, the Luna, dropping for Mafia. So not great. Did we see any buybacks used? We did not. So just having a quick check in there. But yeah, again, still looking pretty good for MAS, and they're going to find this tier 2 tower on bot as well. The tier 2 tower on mid does still stand. That they could start to turn their attention to Roshan at any time. Most of the big ultimates were invested for that team fight, and Hero's not too far away from respawning either. PL is pretty slow in terms of trying to take Rosh, but not slow enough that Sanity's Eclipse, Reverse Polarity, and Eclipse are all going to be online as well. So that might be the next target for them after they get out of here. FYZ doesn't really need to tank, and Phantom Lancer doesn't really need to ever head back to base at this point with the Heart of Tarask. And Coddle just in tow as well, spam off that Chakra Magic. So we're going to have the unpause in just a second. Mafia, I think maybe time to say that desperate times call for desperate measures. Maybe try and find a smoke gank or something like that. But their lineup is fairly heavily reliant on having those big ultimates. So again, it's a risky move to try and go for a smoke and a pickoff. And especially with the fact that PL is going to be putting pressure on the lanes at absolutely all times. And ADTR now up towards top, just farming to his heart's content. Again, he has his Diffusal Blade 2 finished up as well. And another big problem with the Phantom Lancer is just trying to deal with him as a support. Because he naturally builds Diffusal Blade, it's ridiculous on him. Ghost Scepters aren't really all that great since he can just purge the Ghost effect. And it means the supports in the fight, if they get purged, they're pretty much doomed. And the track move speed as well, helping PL stay on top of his marks. So, MAS just choose to back off, try and get a little bit of farm online. We may have some items up on the courier. Actually not. So Bounty Hunter not all that close to his BKB. Even with those towers, he does have a couple of deaths to his name. So that's slowing down his farm there. And Mafia investing a whole bunch of heroes just to try and deal with the PL illusions on top. Again, just PL so absurdly strong in terms of how much attention you need to give him, not only in terms of the draft, but also your play. And I think it's why a lot of people consider him pretty ridiculous at this point, and I'm surprised that it took him so long to really cement his place in the meta. He was a fairly popular pick, but now I think people are finally truly discovering his strength. And again, 4.2 agi growth per level, that's absolutely crazy. FYZ is still just farming up a little bit. We saw an ultimate orb up on the Keeper of the Light, so he is looking pretty rich right now. And I guess heading towards a Hex as that next big item pickup. Phantom Lancer all by himself, just keeping the pressure up on top. And no, now in trouble. We're going to have Cocaine Drug Boss come in as well. But it's 5 heroes coming up just to try and deal with the split push of the Phantom Lancer, which is, again, not a situation that you want to have to be dealing with. This is giving them enough time for their ultimates to cool down, but MAS probably pushing out the farm and XP leads, as you can see right now. And again, checking in on the warding for Mafia. It's extremely defensive. They're waiting for MAS to turn up at their doorstep. They can turn this around late game. Again, they've got nice defensive ultimates. They've got the potential for getting their own army of Phantom Lancers using that disruption. But they've already sort of transitioned over to that plan B that I talked about earlier on in the game. And now OD being used as a little bit of bait up on top. They've actually found the real Phantom Lancer with that imprisonment, so they get the sentry ward down. But a poorly timed skewer back. ADTR is just going to be running himself away. And the telekinesis on the wrong target. The doppelwalk there, actually a little bit out of range of the sentry ward. So Mafia, that's a smoke. That's 4 heroes. That's everything. And now Slayer Boxer in trouble. Going to be purged up and might just die to these illusions. ADTR going to decide that he wants the illusion to do that solo, and one more nuke through finds that kill. Rubik now in trouble, gets the telekinesis back, managed to steal the windwalk, but it wasn't enough, especially with the gem picked up on the Keeper of the Light. So the 2 supports on the side of Mafia do now drop, and MAS find themselves in a great position just to try and push up onto the high ground. The 3 big ultimates are up for Mafia right now, and Luna trying to find whatever scraps of farm she can around the map. But the 2 eclipses, the Sanities and the normal eclipse, plus the reverse polarity, really need to be enough to hold on to this fight. And PL already has his army up. Tier 3 dropping low. The fortification not available either. So Tier 3 definitely going to be dropping here, waiting around for the Rubik. Again, a big Ravage steal might be enough to turn this fight around. Tide almost enough for that pipe. It looks like he's actually heading towards a blink. Queen of Pain stuck in the Astral Imprisonment, but has her blink available to try and make her escape. And now an ultimate orb picked up as well, trying to get that army of Phantom Lancers set up, but just waiting at the duration here. Well played by MAS, and now that disruption is on cooldown at least for a little bit. They might choose to come up onto the high ground with this wave, just throwing out some nukes. They do know that they're fighting up into this team fight, but it looks like ADTR wants to try and force the issue, throws out the doppelwalk. The Illuminate flies through as well, softening up everyone, but there's still a sentry ward down, and they find the nice reverse polarity. Laud manages to get the Ravage off in over the top. Yes gets the skewer back as well. Everyone going to work with those 2 eclipses, but FYZ pops off the BKB. 2 for 3 the trade so far, and FYZ trying to make his escape. Castile now caught out as well. FYZ looking for this kill, going to be lifted up into the air. Luna going to work, and OD might have been able to turn around for that right click. They do actually find that kill, so a double there, and a buyback from the Phantom Lancer as Coddle tries to make his escape, leaving the gem on the ground as he dies. So nice team fight for Mafia. They do invest everything, obviously, but working out heavily in their favor, and actually a pretty nice pickup on the PL. This sentry ward really doing work for them. Maybe a little bit too aggressive, just trying to wail on the racks, and then obviously trying to force the issue. So Mafia still hold on. They did already lose that tier 3, and now starting to swing things back a little bit in terms of XP and in terms of gold. And Tidehunter does now have his Blink Dagger finished up. And Mafia, even though they managed to hold on, they didn't manage to translate that team fight into any sort of advantage. So no towers taken, nothing like that. It's just sort of, okay, we weathered the storm, now we need to just go back to trying to find a little bit of farm. It does mean that they get a little bit more control of their own jungle, and they managed to grab the gem as well. Slayer's just trying to harass Sakura back, so no kill going to be happening either way there. We'll see who has the gem online. Rubik actually carrying that one. So his positioning, not only as a Rubik, but also now as a gem carrier, needs to be absolutely perfect. And nice warding up right now for Mafia, keeping an eye on the Roshan pit, realizing that it is a target. And we've got one more pause from Mafia right now as well. Observer ward up on the high ground, but that's probably going to be dewarded fairly soon if Mafia head over that way. They've still got some tracks running on the supports and things like that. So MAS aren't completely blind, even without having wards on the map. But Mafia, they take a good team fight, they extend their range of influence a little bit more, and that does now include their own Ancients and a little bit of their own jungle. So Starvation Tactics, slightly less viable right now for MAS. And looks like we're just having a few lag issues, unfortunately, on the side of Mafia. And sorry that we don't have 360p Blue Mark. Hopefully I'll have re-encoding enabled and stuff. Well, soon-ish, depending on how the viewer numbers and things like that go. Since I do obviously need a Twitch TV partnership to offer re-encoding and multiple resolutions. PL has now finished up his Manta style. No, where was that Manta style? Am I going crazy? No, that's Luna's Manta. I was clicked on her. And PL going to be dragged away, well, to the Roshan pit. In fact, they do have vision right now. The Radiant side are well aware, and PL pretty slow at Rosh as well. Eclipse and Sanity's Eclipse only a few seconds away. So not sure if MAS can actually take this fight. Ravage is on cooldown, now just barely off, but again, it's an extremely slow Rosh. The Gush going to be helping out a little bit in that regard, but all of Mafia moving to position. They're going to be walking underneath this dire ward, however, so MAS do know that they are here. And it's going to be another big team fight, but this time the prize is Roshan, and even bigger for Mafia as well. A lot of tier 1 towers for them still to take. I'm managing to get rid of that ward. They're trying to get their army of PLs up, but there isn't really all that much to hit, and unfortunately getting a little bit unlucky with those right clicks. Going to be sending them into the pit, but MAS realizing that they don't really want to fight in the confined spaces of the pit, especially with a mag who has a blink. They're going to choose to wisely back off, so a little bit of time wasted, but they did force the reaction from Mafia there. And PL just continuing to farm. He's now got an ultimate orb picked up, so the next big item for him is going to be that Manta style. And we've still got this XP bar. Well, we had the XP bar glitch for a second there on the PL, but looks like it has now fixed itself. Keeper of Light being his annoying self on mid, just going to be spamming off that Eliminate to try and wipe out the creep wave. And Mafia doing okay now. I mean, Luna catching back up in terms of net worth, and there's still a whole bunch of gold for them to take on the map. So this 10k gold difference, while it is starting to level out, will start swinging back back towards Mafia's favor if they're actually able to take a couple of team fights back to back. And XP swinging back towards 0, so it's pretty much even in that regard right now. Would be nice to see maybe PL making a little bit more use of the illusions. He's sending a group of them down mid right now, but I guess partially he can't really farm the jungle as well as he used to since the Quelling Blade glitch was fixed, but at this point he should be able to have a little camp of illusions just getting him farmed passively the entire time, barring some bad luck, of course. MAS choosing to head into the Roshan pit, and we've actually got OD all the way up on top trying to claim a tier 1 at the same time. They do know that this is happening. You can see everyone's positioned around Rosh right now, but I guess in the end deciding that they don't want to take this fight. Roshan already dropping low, and ADTR going to be picking that one up in just a second. So PL picking up that Aegis. And now TPing up towards top, so Mafia that whole time not really getting all that much done, just staying grouped up, afraid of being picked apart, but they were finding some farm on their carries at the same time. No towers dropping, and the supports do all remain poor on the bottom of the pile. So MAS are just going to continue to farm up. Hex being worked towards on the Queen of Pain right now, and that's almost finished. What have we got picked up for the Kotl? He's replaced his gem. That's where the majority of his gold's gone. So gem wars on both sides right now, though Mafia do still have some vision up around the map. That probably won't last all that long, and MAS now in a pretty good position to try and leverage this Aegis to take a fight. The Mafia managed to find themselves a tier 1 on mid at the same time, and everyone should have TPs ready to zip back to base at absolutely any moment. So a good play by them. FYZ can be brought in by the recall, so that's probably the game plan right now. And it looks like they're just going to be trying to man up on this push. So TP's coming back. This is the next big team fight. Illusion's already going forward, but Slayer going to be trying to get his own army of PLs online. And is he going to be successful? Now getting a few splits off. Illuminate flies through, wiping out a couple of them. Needs to be microing these correctly to try and get more out. And again, there is a creep wave and a wave of PL illusions here to try and continue splitting, but unfortunately for him, they do get wiped out. Disruption is going to be up in just a second, but he's actually back at the fountain healing up, and now Illusions going forward. The nuke's going out on ESES, canceling off that Blink Dagger right now, and Laud comes in, throws out the Ravage, not going to be stolen right now, and the Sonic Wave in over the top. Cocaine Boss going to work, throws out his ultimate, and now Rubik steals the Sonic Wave. Nice turn on ADCR drops low, but he does still have that Aegis Sonic Wave thrown. Grabs Sakura, nice 3-man reverse polarity. MAS now in trouble. Mafia surviving long enough to turn this fight around, and while PL has made his way back into the fight to try and claim this melee barracks, the fortification is going to pop the lift up, the disruption as well, and this might be one dead PL, and it is going to be a nice fight for Mafia, finding 6 in fact, in exchange for, I believe, none. So fantastic play by them. And this is now an opportunity for them to go and take a whole bunch of towers. PL is dead. He doesn't have buyback, so that's a 60-second window there. We've got Luna heading towards mid. Mantis Style going to be off cooldown in just a second, so she should be able to claim this tier 2 solo. And yeah, Mafia now only 1 kill in it. And ESES finding some pretty good farm. Just a quick check in back on the net worth. Things starting to get split up a little bit more. And OD starting to look a little bit scarier in terms of farm as well, now heading towards his own Hex. Why would anyone want 360p? Because their connections can't handle 720. That's probably the only reason, Striker. But yeah, looking pretty good for Mafia right now, and we'll see if they, well, hopefully they don't go over aggressive trying to pick up this tier 2. All of MAS are just about to respawn. The tier 2 on mid was claimed solo by Luna, so well played there. Took a track for her trouble, but actually a butterfly now finished on the Luna and eclipsing the PL a little bit in terms of farm. Not sure where all of this came from, but all of that tower gold and that huge team fight going in their favor, working out fantastically, and they now sort of got the potential to man fight this a little bit more. It's a bad sign for MAS when they lose with the Aegis in hand as well. So, woohoo, I suppose. They're making a bit of a comeback, and nice to see Phantom Cancer, I suppose, a little bit put in his place, but I won't be biased because of that. Tide has almost finished up his pipe, so that will be a big help in terms of these fights. And I guess one option for MAS as well is to try and slow roll this push a little bit more, send those illusions through, as opposed to jumping in aggressively with the Tide Hunter, which did get them a little bit split up as they headed up onto the high ground. So just back to sort of split push tactics right now. I've got a smoke heading out. Roshan is still a long way away right now, so looking for some picks. I don't believe we actually have a gem left on the side, on the dire side, and that gem is going to be on cooldown as well for another couple of minutes. So playing a little bit blind right now, going for smoke gank, trying to find a pick off, and Mafia, fortunately for them, Sixth Sense or something going on, they're actually going to back off. So Smoke Gank won't connect. PL putting the pressure up on top, but Mafia in a better situation to try and deal with this now. Though everyone will come back to try and mitigate this pressure. So MAS continue to pressure in all of the lanes. They can take this time to try and play starvation tactics a little bit. So keep Mafia forced back inside their base, and then just take advantage of all of the farm on the map. Use both ancient camps, use both jungles, use every single lane, and just try and get a whole bunch of items online. Bounty Hunter not actually all that farmed at the moment, and as far as teamfights go, he doesn't really contribute all that much. He's contributing more gold, but in terms of damage and actually bringing heroes down, it's not all that much. And I'm Kip. Hudzy. Yeah, base Kip. I'm Kip. I guess that's the source of the confusion. One of my mods just referred to me as Kip, and that seems to be the problem. Yeah. Anyway, back to the game. We've still actually got wards up for the Radiant side right now, since they are actually in control of all of the gems. So this is actually working out quite well for them, and this ward not being spotted. That actually is sentry up in the high ground, so MAS trying to deward, but their movements are being spotted at the moment. And I guess just sort of back to farming right now, looking a little bit lost in fact. PL does still have a few items to grab, and Bounty Hunter can start picking up auras and things like that to boost up these illusions as well, so he's far from capped out. And again, still has 5 levels left, so he's got another 20 points, well 21 points of agility still left to claim, so that's a little bit crazy. So, Mafia, Cocaine Drug Boss has now finished up his Scythe of Vice, so looking pretty good. We did see that butterfly on the Luna earlier. It actually looks like it's going to be a BKB for ESES, and we're not seeing any action happening just yet. Both teams just deciding that they want to farm up a little bit. And Mafia probably feeling confident or cautiously optimistic after that last team fight. And MAS maybe deciding that they want to have that Aegis in hand before trying to go for anything else, especially after the outcome of that last fight. So both teams still just finding farm right now. In terms of the graphs, it's actually swung heavily back in the Radiant favor right now, and gold almost back to even as well, with those towers sort of evened up around the map. So still anyone's game. It's going to come down to some team fights, maybe some Ravage, maybe some Ravages, maybe some Ravage steals as well, going either way. And we did see a big Sonic Wave steal from the Rubik in that last fight as well, so that definitely helped out. But in terms of who the neutral game benefits a little bit more, both of them trying to farm up, Mafia do really have two carries. I mean, MAS are getting the right-click damage out from the Quap and the Bounty Hunter as well, so that's a bit of a help, but Magnus's late game potential is far from insignificant, and Rubik just keeping himself relevant with those steals, potentially on track, potentially on Sonic Wave, and potentially on Ravage. So both teams just staying on their own halves of the map right now. The split pressure from the PL is still working out quite well for MAS right now, preventing Mafia going for any too aggressive ganks, since if MAS see that not enough heroes are coming to try and deal with the PL illusions, they should know that something is up. And Shadow Demon double tapping the disruption there, so actually disrupts himself as opposed to the PL. A very small misplay, but odd to see. So Haystream found by PL, not that big a deal, and that's the XP bar glitch right down there in the bottom right hand corner. It does sometimes occasionally happen when you click on PL. The duration on the illusions is actually completely borked, so just ignore that one, guys. Hopefully it'll be fixed at some point. I guess it's not necessarily a game-breaking bug. Looks like I have been dropping a few frames here and there, so hopefully it's not too laggy at the moment. And hopefully that'll all clear up as the night progresses, and hopefully the stream is still enjoyable for all of you. But yeah, both teams just continuing to farm right now. Next Roshan, the target for both of them. The lane control game favors MAS a little bit, though Luna doing a pretty good job of getting things pushed out, and still now heading towards that next big item. Still cautious play from both teams. Nobody wants to lose a hero. There are buybacks available, but definitely don't want to invest them, since the gold is very, very precious right now. A small item advantage does translate quite heavily at this point in the game. ADTR now heading towards his butterfly, almost has that one finished up as well. And Sakura, Belt of Strength, actually the pickup. Looks like he might be going back for a Basher, in fact, to try and help out, to try and help deal with the BKBs on the Luna and the OD. So a nice choice from him there. Do we have anyone building auras right now on MAS? It'd be nice to see some progress towards a Vlad's, and then maybe towards an AC. But doesn't look like that's the case right now. And double damage actually luckily found by PL as they head down into the Roshan pit. Again, in terms of the lane control game, to try and claim Roshan, MAS do have a little bit of an advantage. So they ward up. Mafia are forced to sort of just deal with the lanes, and Roshan already dropping low. This is only our second Rosh, so it's only an Aegis in tow for him right now. And worth noting that Rosh is actually even slower right now for PL, since he no longer has mana, and that means that the Diffusal isn't actually helping him out all that much. But regardless, Roshan is going to fall, and MAS are going to pick that one up. It's going to be on the Phantom Lancer again. So overall game plan for Mafia in teamfights is going to be pretty similar to what we saw in the last fight. Just deal with the PL as best you can, kite him around and stuff like that, wipe out the rest of his team, and then deal with the 2 lives on the PL later on. And Cocaine Drug Boss now heading his way towards a Shiva's Guard with that second Mystic Staff picked up. But yeah, MAS playing a little bit scared right now, and Mafia's teamfight is looking pretty formidable. We've got a lot of gold picked up on the Magnus. Could actually finish up his BKB if he would like, but maybe just holding on to buyback right now, just in case. So again, still defensive play from both teams. They've still got a long way to farm in terms of capping out. And it's not 100% clear cut who the sort of turtling and defensive play actually favors, but I guess we'll all see that come to bear later on in these team fights. And if Magnus gets a refresher orb up, that's going to be absolutely terrifying. I mean, stun's a little bit more valuable in the late game than damage, so that while the Sonic Wave is going to start to fall off, the Ravage is going to stay relevant, and Polarity as well, as always, going to be strong. And Shadow Demon now getting his own little army of PLs up, but looks like the Dire army is actually winning there, so PL continues the pressure right now, but all of those illusions are fairly low. But again, Mafia having to bring 5 heroes down to try and deal with that. So it's still very, very tense. The clock is sort of ticking on this Aegis, so that's another 4 minutes for MAS to try and go for something before they're trying to wait around for the next rush. And just trying to get as much gold and XP up as they possibly can, trying to stack up these Ancients one more time. So just maybe trying to get some more farm up on the PL, who does now have his Butterfly finished up. So while he has to hold the slot for the Aegis, we'll probably see some travels or even some treads picked up by him shortly. And then that's pretty much it for him in terms of being 6 slotted. He could look to pick up one of those aura items or something like that as that last slot. And the PL Illusion's doing a good job of pushing in down towards bot. This is the problem for Mafia. They've gone for a bit of a smoke, but they can't really afford to leave their base all that long. And Illusion's already up onto the high ground, doing some damage to the tier 3. Shadow Demon's going to get his own little army up, however, and they're actually winning this time around, so the split pressure is going to be heading back the opposite way, at least for a little while. I guess an overall comment for Slayer is that, well, jeez, Cocaine drops low, but ADTR now trapped, and support a little bit too far away. The Aegis is going to pop, and support is going to be there. Reverse Polarity has already been used. Tide considering the initiation. Blinks forward, goes for the Ravage, immediately covering. No steal there on the Rubik. Nice Sanity's Eclipse in over the top, the disruption, and ADTR right clicks down the OD. This is looking pretty good for MAS right now. ADTR still going to work, and no in trouble right now. Everybody dropping so extremely low. Queen of Pain with the blink backwards. Illuminate flies through. Support still alive, but Mafia on the back foot right now. Now a buyback from the Luna as well. And only 1 dead on each side right now, but a few more deaths, bringing up the buyback status, so you guys can have a quick check out on that. Mafia do manage to hold, but it's at the cost of a number of buybacks, and looks like ADTR isn't done just yet, still going forward. Everyone else is still quite low, and the 4 staff away, and it doesn't actually cancel. The player box can take quite a bit of damage. No in trouble, but standing his ground right now. Life stealing up, and ADTR lifted up onto the high ground. Is there going to be a skewer? Is going to be enough damage as a kill picked up on the Rubik damage true set on the ground, and ADTR undeterred, still going to work. Kills off the Magnus, who does not have buyback, and Phantom Lancer. What a team fight for him. We've got gems on the ground everywhere. MAS immediately up onto the racks, and Luna back healing up, trying to do what she can. Buyback has already been used for her. It's going to be at least 1 barracks picked up, and MAS might even be able to try and go for end right now. OD's going to be up fairly soon, but he doesn't have the Sanity's Eclipse available, so no big illusion clearing potential there. And yep. Endo is right in chat. Crit would have been the next big item, but that's going to be 2 Raxes right now for MAS. We'll see if they choose to back off. Mafia are now respawning. And the tier 2 does still stand on mid, so they can't make it megas. They might have been able to go for end, but playing it fairly defensively right now. And now heading back straight onto the tier 2. They know that ultimates are on cooldown, and PL is just going from strength to strength right now. 6.6k gold up in the bank, whatever that next big item is going to be. And again, likely the crit, it's going to be coming along fairly soon, and a smoke as well from MAS. Roshan about 5 minutes away, and Mafia now forced to just pick up the pieces. A valiant fight for them, but using the reverse polarity just for the PL did hurt them quite a bit as soon as that Ravage came in. And PL surviving on a sliver of health for basically the entire team fight was really the problem. And PL on a sliver of health does exactly the same amount of damage as PL on full health. So that's sort of the problem for them right now. Only 6 kills in it right now, but XP taking a nosedive back in the dire favor, and gold, while it was sort of heading back up towards 0, now out to 15k as well. So looking pretty good right now for MAS, and they're going to have to be happy with that team fight. An extremely decisive one at that. We've now got an MKB finished up on the Queen of Pain. The gem now reclaimed by Castiel. Quite a bit of gold up on him as well. So getting fairly close to that Hex if you would like to go for that one. And Laud, not sure what he's going for right now with that Staff of Wizardry picked up. Actually a little bit interesting to see. He doesn't really have all that much gold, so not sure where all of that went. Maybe there's something on the ground back in base? No? Okay, well, I'm just going to stay confused at the moment. Maybe he did die fairly early on in that fight. So, back into the game. Mafia now on the back foot, but it's still not necessarily over. Ultimates are all back up for them as well. And PL, 8.3k gold up, still hasn't picked up another item just yet. And again, he could upgrade his boots to travels, and he could start looking towards crit or AC, something along those lines. So a bit interesting to see that he's holding on to that. He does have buyback available, and buyback is cooling down right now for both the Magnus and the Luna. So this is a little bit of an opportunity for MAS, but it's getting to the point in the game where if there's a wipeout either way, without buybacks available, then Mafia might just be able to go straight down mid and go for end. We've now got a Shiva's Guard finished up on Cocaine Drug Boss as well, and Illusions head in. The Shadow Demon trying to make his own army here as well, and being a little bit unlucky in terms of the procs, so it looks like those are just going to time out. But looking bad-ish for Mafia, but they still hold on to their middle racks, so, you know, 1 rack's NP, 2 racks try hard, as the saying goes. Now PL just continuing to hedge them back into their base, buying them enough time to get that Aegis and cheese. And the problem for them as well is going to be that if they try and contest Roshan, then the PL illusions and even just the split push from someone like the Queen of Pain is going to be enough to force the attention back, so they won't necessarily be able to take a team fight outside of their base, which is exactly what MAS are banking on right now. If Mafia time it perfectly, they might be able to get the waves pushed out enough to go for an extremely ballsy smoke towards the Roshan pit. But again, desperate times do sort of call for desperate measures at this point. So, still just farm for now. Buyback's going to be available in just a second, but ADTR, 31k net worth for him. Let's have a quick check in on the gold per minute, 636 as well. And there's still plenty of ziggurats and stuff. Well, still plenty of moonwells left for him to farm in the base as well if they manage to push up in here. And Luna just falling off a little bit, especially having to invest that buyback in that last fight, though is being helped out a little bit by Empower. So the farm discrepancy being evened up a little bit by that. But yeah, MAS still just waiting around for Roshan. That's all they really need to wait for. And the Lincoln Sphere actually the pickup here by Phantom Lancer, so I guess I'm wrong there. He's not going for more damage. It's just going to be a little bit more survivability. Not sure exactly what he's trying to deal with. Probably just the hexes and the lifts over on the side of Mafia. Over on the side of Mafia. Roshan still about a minute away, and looks like MAS maybe a little bit ballsy from them. They're going to be heading, looks like maybe heading straight into the base if they can find a pickoff. PL unfortunately standing right on top of a Radiant Sentry Ward right now, so that vision might actually be spotting out the doppelwalked hero. And Mafia playing pretty defensively for now. So it's a bit of a gamble for MAS. They could just get this wave pushed out, force Mafia to deal with it, and then go for Rush. And that looks like where that looks like where they're heading right now. Sakura just hanging around for a little bit longer, and they've always got the Cuddle Recall available to bring either of these heroes back. Both of them quite survivable as well. BKB picked up on both, though there aren't any TPs, so there's no potential for a BKB TP, that there would always be the reverse polarity available. There's actually going to be a Hex up on FYZ. Are they going to blow the polarity just for this one? There's the BKB and the blink away. Skewer no longer catches magic immune units as well, so that would have worked just before, but now with the patch that went through just a little while ago, no longer works. And Roshan now dropping. There's an Aegis and cheese waiting for MAS, and Mafia again exactly as predicted. They're just forced to deal with their lanes at the moment. So Aegis on the ground, so is the cheese. Quap is going to pick up the Aegis. ADTR doesn't actually have any space to pick that one up, and going to immediately buy some travels as well. So he's got buyback and travels available if things go south. So even if the Coddle dies, he's effectively got 2 lives in this fight as well. And since the fight is about to start, we're going to have a quick check-in on buyback status. Nono does have it up, and so does ES. But that's about it, and OD 1.2k gold away. Nowhere close right now. PL straight up onto the high ground, and the nukes all go out onto OD, but it can't actually summon too many more illusions. The tier 3 already drops. They need to take this team fight. Manta style going to work right now, but ADTR undeterred, going for Mega Creeps immediately, and Mafia can't really take this team fight just yet. The fortification does pop with just a few seconds left. Blood comes in, throws out the Ravage, covering that one as well. Nice reverse polarity connects on 3, but the damage has already been dealt. No, trying to do what he can, gonna maybe pop off the Eclipse as well, not used just yet, just right-clicking away, but MAS, they man up, and Rubik drops as well. Now a buyback, but MAS only losing 1, the Aegis drops. No, going to work, but that's going to be Mega Creeps in just a second. And a valiant effort from Mafia to try and hold out the PL, but the GG is going to be called. So, well played by MAS. Very good point by Endo as well in chat, so that's 6 of them. That the Lincoln's also slightly motivated by trying to prevent the disruption for SD to try and form his own army of Phantom Lances. So the GG is going to be called. That means MAS do advance. Mafia, they're not done just yet. They're going to be knocked down to the lower bracket, where I'm not sure exactly who they're facing, but they've still got another opportunity in this tournament. It's best of 1, double eliminations all the way through. So anyway, I've been Baseskip. This was a game for the SEA League Qualifier number 1. It was Mafia up against MAS. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. I hope to see you for a future broadcast. We've got more SAA League coverage coming up fairly soon, I believe. The winner of this match, obviously MAS advances, they're going to be playing the winner of the previous match, and then we've also got another pairing earlier on, so there'll be another game there. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll hopefully see you for the next broadcast.